Welcome, everybody. We are live. Do me a favor, would you? Let me know where you are watching this from. Isn't it cool that we get to connect with people all around the world? Maybe it's just me that is fascinated that it's the world has become really small in a good way as we can connect with so many people quickly. So let me know where you're watching this from. Put it in the chat. And here's something else. You never know who needs your services. So use this opportunity to leverage this event to tell people what you do and who you serve. Somebody may be watching. Hello from Tampa. I'm from Kansas City. Do you think Kansas City Chiefs are going to three-peat? I do. We had a mini ice storm last night. So Tampa, I'm sure you don't have ice down there. Is it Chic or Chick? Cool name. All right. So let us know where you're from, what you do, who you serve. Someone may see this and may need your services. This is the great thing about thinking outside the box and leveraging. We're going to talk about that today. Leveraging opportunities. So you're not just going one on one. We're going to dive into that. All right. Now, do you want to get promoted to 36,000 plus, mostly CEOs and founders of small businesses, B2B businesses? If you would like to be promoted, I will promote one of you. If you share this event, I'll get a notification and I'll pick one of you. Now, that's not all. I have 8 strategies. I'm going to cover a few strategies here, but I have 8 strategies on a 2-pager, and I'll send you the link to those strategies for everybody who shares this event. So share this event wherever you're watching this, repost, share into your feed, and I'll get a notification. Everybody that shares the event will get the 2-pager with the 8 strategies to grow your business. Again, if you share the event. Sometimes I do this and people will reach out. Hey, I want that 2-pager. I didn't get a notification that you shared the event. Just, okay, I'll get notified and I'll give you the 2-pager. Sound cool? And one of you, let's make it 2. I feel generous today. 2 of you I will promote to my 36,000 plus followers on LinkedIn, mostly CEOs, founders of small B2B businesses. So if that's your target audience, this would be something that's good for you. And I'll include your photo. I'll work with you on some copy so we can promote you in a way that people see you. And I've had people, by doing this, pick up as many as 10 to 15 leads. So share the event and I'll get a notification. You'll get the 2-pager with the 8 strategies, but you'll be one of the 2 people who gets promoted. Okay. So we're going to talk about TABS today. TTABS. I had an email that went out to a new email subscriber and he said, because it was in the subject line, TABS, TTABS. I'm like, yes, that's not a typo. And so let me talk about what TABS is. First and foremost, it's your tactic. These 5 things, not my fingers, these 5 things, TTABS, when you have all of them working together in alignment with one another, you'll be able to identify, attract, engage in conversations, and convert into new clients predictably. If one of these 5 things, generally it's more than one of these 5 things, again, not my fingers, TTABS, is out of place. And I can identify, by the way, if you want me to give you a sales and marketing assessment, I'm not going to try to sell you or pitch you or anything like this. 20 minutes, I can assess, give you an overview of where the problem is on these. Okay. TTABS. Now I'm going to jump into this and give you a little bit more detail on this, obviously. But when these are one or more of these are out of place, you're going to be frustrated. You're going to spend too much time. You're going to get little results. Have you been there on LinkedIn? Okay. A lot of people are spending a lot of time and getting little results because they don't have these 5 things working together congruently in alignment with one another. So the first T is tactic. That's what you do. Second T is technique. That's how you execute on the tactic. The A is attitude. Nothing happens well in life, in business, if your attitude, but it's deeper than just attitude, perspective. You could be focused on a perspective that's totally off and wrong. And because of that perspective, it's going to affect what you say, most importantly, how you say it. That's also part of technique because what you say, how you say it. Now, think about this. Go with the intention to serve, not sell, and you will attract and not repel. That's my first page of my Dr. Seuss for Kids sales book. But seriously, when you go with the intention, your intention will repel or attract. Big. That's what many of my clients enjoy about working with me is because it's not about trying to sell someone or close someone. It's about serving them and onboarding them. Okay. So B, that's the KPI. When you have the right tactic, what you're doing, the right technique, how you execute on the tactic, A, your attitude, your intention, then you should know the number of the tactics that you do to schedule predictably the certain amount of meetings, qualified meetings, and onboarding a certain amount of clients. Now, we're missing something here. What is it? S, strategy. This is where A is foundational, but S is where many people miss the boat. Either they don't have a strategy or it's ineffective strategy. And sales, marketing is where you get into strategy. When you understand marketing and sales and you bring them together, it's a beautiful thing. Ha! It is so beautiful. For many, well, I'm going to get into my story and explain why it's a beautiful thing. These 5 things together will help you identify, attract, engage, and onboard new clients predictably. To get into strategy a little bit, in order to have an effective strategy, marketing, you have to know and understand your target audience. What's their main need? What's their main want? What are they looking to accomplish? And once you know this information, then you speak to their need, to their want, to their hopes, their dreams in such a way that they see you as the authority and have confidence that you, me, us, our solution can solve their problem. This is when you start getting inbound traffic. That's a beautiful thing. So for me, I got into sales a long time ago, several decades ago. I was the worst. As a matter of fact, I thought I can't hack this. I can't do it. And I was the worst salesperson in the company, 119 out of 119 salespeople. I remember I was sitting in my car. It was raining outside. And I was thinking to myself, how the heck am I going to make a living? I've been there a few months and I didn't have any sales, zip, zero, nada sales. And it was 100% commission. So I was stressed. I was anxious. I was in my car. It was raining. And right about then, this yellow light started glowing. And I thought, great. It was my gas gauge, empty. Came on. And I'm like, this is exactly how I feel, empty. Now, around that time, my boss, who became my mentor, Ken Upton. He had me over for dinner, and he said, Chaz, after dinner, we sat down in the den. I remember it was like, it wasn't, well, not like yesterday, but I remember it vividly. Ken sat in his chair of prominence, and I sat in a chair next to his. It was Northern California, and Northern California is chilly, even in the summer. Mark Twain said, the coldest winter I ever spent was a summer I spent in San Francisco. And this was north, about 150 miles north of San Francisco. So there's a fireplace in the fire in the fireplace. And he said to me, Chaz, are you sick and tired of not making any sales? I was like, yes. And 3 words changed my life. And this goes to attitude. He said, you can be. Just now, I'm going to complete what followed those 3 words, but just a mentor-like figure speaking into my life helped me understand I can be. Now, he followed that with the top salesperson in the company. I was 119 out of 119. So I'm like, wow. And the way he said it made me believe it. And then he gave me the big but. B-U-T, by the way. Okay. You need to get those big buts out of your life if you want to be successful. B-U-T. He said, but. Now, in this case, it's a good but. He said, but you have to follow our system and process because it's proven. If you follow the system and process, we spent hundreds of hours, maybe thousands of hours putting this together, you'll be successful. So I followed the system, I followed the process, and 45 days later, I wasn't number 1, I was number 3. $14,000 in commissions I made for that 1 month. And this is when $14,000 was a lot of money. Now, I'm not saying, oh, $14,000 isn't a lot of money today, but back then it was a lot of money. Okay. So Ken showed me the tactic, the attitude to have, and the behaviors to execute on, and a little bit of the technique. So he had TTAB, no S. And I continued to, in my sales career, I worked there for a little bit. I went to another job, and I was doing very well. I was succeeding, but I was exhausted. I remember following up. I was the follow-up king. By the way, if you have to follow up with people, you're doing something wrong. Now, I'm not talking about if you're a business development rep. I'm talking about if you have a conversation with someone who seems like a qualified prospect, and then you have to follow up after that conversation. You're doing something wrong. Never follow up, never touch base. Okay. This is for a whole different sales training. I have a call to client sales training. If interested, it will raise your onboarding percentage by 21%. Typically on average, that's for my clients. So I like onboarding percentage instead of closing percentage. It will raise your onboarding percentage by 21% on average, plus, and reduce your sales cycle by more than 50% because you don't have to follow up. Okay. So I was massive action, tactic. I was getting better in technique. My attitude, have a attitude of tenacity. This is before I got into intention and understood the importance of intention, but I didn't have a strategy. I remember one night my son wanted to play ball outside, and he has these big old eyes. He's 27 today, but this is when he was a young kid. He's like 5. Daddy, hey, can you play baseball with me? I like, Tyler, I love to, bud. I gotta follow up and do some things. And he had the big lip puppy dog eyes, he was a master at that. And I'm like, okay, yeah, let's go. Let's do this. And I just remember I was playing with him, and my mind was not in the moment. My son, 5 years old. I'm getting a little emotional about this right now. But I was doing massive behaviors. I was doing well in sales, but it was draining me. It was sucking the life out of me, and it was impacting my relationships with my relationship with my kids. And I remember, fast forward, because I was doing this over and over and over again for all these different companies I worked for. And I remember the CEO of this technology company. He's like, okay, guys, we need to get those cold calls going based on a demographic search. Now, this is really important because this goes under S for strategy. Demographic versus psychographic. If you go with demographic, okay, here's Sally, salesperson. Here's Melvin, the salesperson. If you go with a demographic, you use demographic to reach people, you're putting yourself in a silo and you're going to be ineffective. You want to get out of the silo and you want to be able to reach people based on their motivators, what's important to them, their needs, their wants, so that you don't have those barriers with that silo you're in from reaching them. And so demographic, think about this. If you're familiar with Sales Navigator, comment in the chat if you're familiar with this. If you're familiar with Sales Navigator, you can do a demographic search there. Okay. And you can find, oh, here's the CEOs in this size company, in this industry, in this geographic area, or whoever the title is of the people that you reach out to. Hey, wow, these are leads. That's what Sales Navigator, I define a lead differently, okay? The 3% rule, and you can Google search this, after the event. Don't do it now. By the way, if you haven't shared the event, you want to be in the running to get promoted to my 36,000 plus followers, which are mostly C-level founders, small businesses, share this event, okay? And you'll be in the running. Plus, everyone that shares this event will get the 2-pager with 8 strategies. I'm going to cover a couple strategies here. This will give you 8 strategies that you can execute in your business, okay? So share the event. I will get a notification, and I will only share this with the people who actually share the event. I have people that reach out. Hey, can I get that 2-pager? I didn't see the notification that you shared the event. Well, can I still get it? No. Okay. So demographic, 3%. If you Google search after this event, the 3% rule, basically 3% to maybe 10% are ready to make buying decisions. And guess what? They don't know you. Anybody been spammed on LinkedIn? Anyone irritated with being spammed on LinkedIn? You know, I look at things differently today. This is just a side note, okay? When people, I don't even consider it spamming. You know, we're on a business platform. We're trying to sell our services. Now, I help my clients so they don't have spammy type messages because they're reaching people who are interested in their service because they're going to a psychographic. And I'll explain this after I finish with demographic. But when I have someone that reaches out to me and I'm like, maybe I can use them. Maybe one of my clients can use them. Can you send me an example? Or give me a 60 seconds of how you could potentially help me and the results that would happen. So I look at those for potential vendors that I would use most of the time. Sometimes I'm interested in what they're doing, so they just don't know how to sell, and they just don't know any better. Okay, so back to where I was on the demographic. So if you're doing Sales Navigator and just sending out a bunch of messages, they fall flat. They're very ineffective. You're concentrating on massive behaviors and you are destroying your brand. As you send out message after message after message after message after message, spamming people with links and this and whatnot, people are like, unfollow, not interested, report you as spam. Okay. I mean, LinkedIn, you can actually get reported for spam. So that's ineffective. 3%, around 3%, it's called the 3% rule, are ready to make buying decisions. So you need to be absolutely perfect in what you say, how you say it, the intention. Now, psychographic, on the other hand, it's anywhere from 3 to 5 times more likely to do business with you. Do you want to do the 3% or do you want to do 15 to 30% more likely to do business with you? I'll use the 15 to 30% more likely. How about you? So I was following Ken's instructions, follow the system, follow the process. They actually had a system and process, not much of a strategy. It was all on tactic and technique and attitude, but it was effective, but it was a lot of work and it was really high pressure, which I don't like. I learned from Ken, but I learned also what I didn't want to do the rest of my life. So back to this CEO, do cold calls based on a demographic search. And I'm like, cold calls have little to zero leverage. And some people are good at it. Some people teach people how to do cold calls. And the more advanced we are with communications today, the less likely you are actually able to get through to somebody. Like I had a client who was 100 cold calls a day. Out of those 100 cold calls a day, they were scheduling 1.5 meetings. That's a lot of time, and I consider a waste of time. 1.5 meetings on average for 100 cold calls, and they had a 40% show up rate. So basically, it's more like about a 3/4 of one person for 100 cold calls. That's not good. So my boss, he's like, go cold calls. I'm like, I'm not doing cold calls and I'm getting meetings. So I wanted to prove a point to him, and it made me think outside the box. So instead of getting in this little silo, I got out and I thought about leverage. What can I do for leverage? And this is a strategy that I'm going to talk about. $520,000 in an hour. $520,000 in sales in an hour by using leverage and not using demographics as my search. So what did I do? I thought about who serves my target audience and provides value, has a relationship with them, and my target audience sees them as an authority. They've already built trust. They're going to them because they want to learn from them. And so as I thought about that, I knew someone who had a CEO roundtable. Think Vistage. If you're familiar with Vistage, anyone familiar with Vistage? But it was on a smaller scale. It was here in the Kansas City area. The home of the three-peat Kansas City Chiefs. Chiefs. We'll see. One of my clients here in town is actually having Monday off to celebrate the Chiefs win. So we'll see. Anyway, I digress. So I reached out to him. His name is Joe. And I said, Joe, you have these CEOs that come to you and you talk about different challenges and struggles in their business. And I was selling a technology solution. These businesses, if they don't get this, proactively do this, they are very likely to be hacked. And I gave him some statistics and some stories. And he goes, oh yeah, I'm always looking for speakers. So he invited me in. Now, this is psychographic. Okay. He let them know I'm going to come in. We're going to talk about cybersecurity and why it's important. And if you don't come, you could miss out on this opportunity. So now they're coming psychographic because they're getting a third-party endorsement from Joe, who knows me, they already respect Joe, and they're like, oh man, that's some good points. So they show up. We had 12 CEOs show up, and we had an open discussion back and forth about cybersecurity, some things they need to do and whatnot. So after that 1 hour meeting, $520,000 in sales. My boss never asked me to do cold calls ever again. So that strategy is having a strategic partnership who already serves your target audience. How cool is that? If you look at, I have the 10X is Easier Than 2X book by Dr. Benjamin Hardy, and Dr. Benjamin Hardy and Dan Sullivan collaborated, had a strategic collaboration for that book. Benjamin Hardy is a prolific writer, didn't have a lot of influence. Dan Sullivan isn't a writer, but he had a lot of influence because Strategic Coach is one of the world's largest coaching organizations. They came together. They wrote 3 books, 10X is Easier Than 2X, Who Not How, and The Gap and the Gain. Those 3 books added $100 million in sales for Strategic Coach and helped Benjamin Hardy 10X his business. So strategic partnerships. And by the way, what's the most difficult thing with strategic partnerships? Finding the right person to have a collaboration or joint venture with. I have solved that problem. So if you want to put collaboration in the chat or DM me, I have a community of vetted founders that you can collaborate with, kind of like I did with Joe. You can collaborate with them and they can help you reach your target audience and you can help them reach their target audience. Sound cool? All right. So $520,000 in an hour by having a strategic partnership. That is strategy. Without that, you're wasting your time. You're doing things based on a demographic search. I'm not saying that you are, but you may be if you don't understand strategy and you're not incorporating it together. So you have the tactic, the technique, the attitude, the behavior, and strategy. All those working together. So the tactic was, I'm going to have a live event. The technique was, I'm going to speak to people that have a need that I can solve. And because I knew the target audience, I knew exactly their problems, what they were susceptible to, and how to speak to their needs and wants in such a way where they had confidence that I and my solution could solve their problem. So these are some things to know, to understand, I should say, so you can create an effective strategy. And I do this with all my clients, and this is how they create their sales and marketing mission statement. Who do you serve? What are the results they get? That's what people care about. They don't care about you. They don't care about me. They care about the results that you're going to help them get. Sales is not about getting people to buy the thing you're trying to sell them. Sales is about helping people burst through those obstacles and helping them achieve their goals. Focus on the transformation of your client. And if you have sales reps, marketing people, if the focus is on the transformation, everyone is going to be more motivated to sell and to market. Now, understand the result they get, because that's key. That's foundational. And then understand who you work with and who you don't work. And this is getting into a little bit of psychographics. We work with XYZ. Yes, you have the demographics there, but it's much deeper than that. Then I work with blank, 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 and I don't work with these. Just as important as knowing who you work with is knowing who you don't work with. Anybody have a client that's a pain? Life's too short to work with people that are not a good fit for you and for them. So intention, remember, talked about attitude, intention to serve. The best thing to do if you have someone that you see is going to be a potential problem is refer them to someone else. Maybe someone else would be a better fit. And, they'll be like peanut butter and jelly working together. Okay. So who you work with, what's the outcome you provide. Where are they without you? They're in a hell. H-E, double toothpicks. They're in a hell. And describe this hell they're in. So my client, they're not able to X, and because they're not able to X, they're frustrated, they're doing this, they're losing sleep at night, it's affecting their health. Spell it out. Now, when they work with you, just as important, you identify the hell. Now, in all of your content, in your communication, you're speaking to that hell in such a way so it connects with them emotionally. We don't buy based on logic. We buy based on emotion. We're emotional creatures. And if you don't connect with your strategy on the emotional level, you're not going to attract people predictably, be able to engage them in conversation, making a sincere connection, and you're not going to be able to convert them into clients predictably. So you have the hell, then just as important, you take them out of the hell because they're working with you and you solve their problem and spell it out. We help them blank with blank so that they have this and so they have peace of mind. Okay. Now, what is the process you bring them through? Spell that out. I identify this and I speak to them in such a way with this piece of content or this live event, or by doing this tactic with this technique, we have this attitude and we have this strategy. So you lay out the steps there. Are you catching what I'm throwing down? Are you? Because this is, if you get this, with all the things I'm talking about today, if you understand your target audience, their needs, wants, the hell they're in, how you get them out of the hell and put them into heaven, and the steps you go through to identify, attract, engage, and convert, wow, that is powerful. Okay? So you have to know them to have an effective strategy. If you don't know them, and depending upon if you're a new business or you've been doing this a while, you know who has the best information? Your clients. Reach out to them. Say, hey, what is it about me that made you think I want to work with Sally or Sue or Ben or ABC company as opposed to others? What is it about us that you appreciate? What is it about us that we need to improve? If you have those uncomfortable conversations with your clients throughout the process, wow, that will increase your long-term value, your LTV with your clients 30, 50, 75% when you do that. I used to be really insecure and hesitant about asking my clients for feedback. Now, I don't know if I do it every time I'm in a live event, but frequently, consistently, I say, guys, I need your critical feedback. Where are my holes? What can I improve? What would you like to see? They are the best source of information for your marketing, for how you deliver your offer, and how to make improvements so you can pivot and change with the times. Seriously. All right. So that is a strategy that's effective. Now, back to technique, that's what you do. Tactic, that's what you do. Technique is how you execute on the tactic. Attitude, remember, intention to serve, not sell. And you will attract and not repel. Behavior, that's the number of tactics you need to do to schedule a certain amount of qualified meetings and onboard clients. When you have the right attitude, intention with the right strategy, your number of tactics that you do will come down dramatically. Your meetings will go up. This is what you want. And your onboarding percentage, remember, onboarding is different than, well, it's the same as closing percentage, but it's just a frame of reference. Onboarding someone instead of closing them. Do you close them? And it's like, okay, they're closed. No, you onboard them. You start the relationship with them as the client. So you onboard them and then you serve them. You serve them throughout the process. Okay. So strategy. Let me give you an example of how this works practically. So I was telling you before about someone who is doing 100 cold calls a day and they're getting 1.5 meetings. 40% of those 1.5 meetings would show up for the actual meeting. So what is that? Like 75% of one person would show up to a meeting. Not a good strategy. So what did we do? There wasn't a strategy. It was just demographic, cold call. And when they answered, you got to be really good to get their attention with a pattern interrupt, engage them in conversation, get past that 3 seconds and get them into a meeting. It's tiring, isn't it? Yes. So with this company, what we did is I instituted the trifecta. That was calls, DMs, and emails, but we incorporated content. And the content, because content can be a tactic, but if you don't know and understand your target audience and you don't speak to that need and want, guess what? Your content's going to fall flat. There's a skill set that's involved in creating content and writing copy. That's the words within your content that speaks to the people that are out there. So with this company, they were scheduling two meetings a week. And so the trifecta was, we had content that was starting to drive people to their profile. We're setting up their profile as a landing page so that it was generating leads 24/7. And by the way, if your LinkedIn profile, this is strategic. Content should drive people to your profile. A comment should drive people to your profile. A live event should drive people to your profile. Are you getting the idea of the flow? If your profile is not set up in such a way that speaks to the needs, speaks to the wants, you have 3 seconds. There's a 3-second rule on your profile. People get there. If you don't catch their attention, they're confused. Guess what? They'll leave and may never come back. You can go to my profile and see what a landing page looks like. Very clean, not a bunch of words. So they get there and they have an asset that's something of value that they want to buy with their name and their email address, so that you can now, I get anywhere from 0 some days to 37 leads. These are qualified leads because they're opting in for my ebook, which is the B2B blueprint to predictable sales. By the way, if you want a copy of that, you can go to my profile and you can see exactly how that works. So people go there, they visit my profile, they're opting in for my ebook. Now it's all automated. Now I'm marketing to them based on their needs and wants, and I'm providing confidence in their minds about me being able to solve their problem, because the emails are put together in such a way that speaks to their need, want, and provides confidence that my solution, us as a company, can solve their problem. So remember that. Content. This company, they were having content and we worked with it so that it was like resonating. So they're starting to get inbound traffic. Let me just digress for 1 second here. This company wasn't getting any inbound leads from any content. They weren't putting content out there. And just by within a month of getting content out, now it doesn't mean that in a month you're going to bam, but having a strategy behind your content, formatting your content, having a hook, that's the top line of your content that gets people to read it. And then the meat, which supports the hook, and then the call to action. They picked up they picked up an opportunity that was for 5 locations that would have been the biggest opportunity, or was the biggest opportunity for them that year, because they had a content strategy. And on the trifecta, they were reaching people based on people responding to their content and a couple other things. And so they went from 2 meetings that were kind of qualified, not qualified, to 6 meetings, 3x. They spent less time and 3x the results. How cool is that? And the people that they were meeting with were more qualified. So you're catching what I'm saying here? So they had their LinkedIn profiles set up correctly. So if people visit their profile, oh, I get what you do. I can see how you can solve my problem. And based on what you have in your profile, I can see that you are definitely someone that may be able to help me because you're building confidence in their mind. Okay. Now, another company I was working with, slightly different, they had a SaaS product and they were just belting out cold calls and cold calls and cold calls. And we said, why don't you do live events? And they went from cold calls. Again, they were, I don't know, 1 to 2 meetings every 100 cold calls. That's the percentage for companies that are kind of okay with cold calls. I find that companies that are really good with cold calls, they may get to 3 or 4%, but that's 4 out of 100 cold calls. Yikes, or 3. So after going through creating their sales and marketing mission statement, we understood their target audience. We understood the psychographics of their needs and wants, and we went much deeper than this. And what they started to do is, instead of doing 75 cold calls a day, they started doing 2 live events a week. And then now an event is a tactic, but if you don't have or if you set up an event without a strategy to know how to get people to engage with you from the get-go and stay throughout, then you could just be doing a lot of events and nothing's happening and you're not bringing in prospective clients. So we worked through all those so they can catch their attention. They had value. So they were hooking the people that were there, and they saw that, or they spoke to that need and want with their SaaS product. So now with the 2 events a week, they were scheduling 5 meetings just from the event. So that's 10 meetings a week, 5 meetings from each event. But all the people that registered for the event and didn't schedule a meeting, now they went from demographic to psychographic because they're in their target audience. But by registering for an event, they're qualifying themselves as, hey, if they're in the demographic and they're saying what you're talking about is something that we are interested, that's something that we have a need for in our company. So now they would reach out to the people who registered who didn't schedule meetings. Am I going too fast for you right now? I'm getting excited. I can go speak up to like 300 words a minute. Let me slow down a little bit. Now they were scheduling 5 meetings per event. I'm sorry. It was 3 to 5 meetings per event. So let's just say low side. So 6 meetings. They were scheduling less than that. I mean, like less than half of that previously. And again, they had like a 50% show up rate to the meeting schedule. The people who scheduled meetings from the event was more like an 80% show up rate. Boom. Okay. Instead of spending 10 hours, 20 hours on the phone a week, they were spending a couple hours. Now, yes, there was preparation and all of that. And so they had to lay it out and we had to have a strategy and craft it. So we'll put together the event in a way that was effective. But check this out. The people who didn't schedule the meetings registered. Now they're identifying themselves. Hey, what you're talking about, I'm interested in. So now they had warm calls to make and they were scheduling several other meetings. Basically, they quintupled their meetings by doing 2 events and then call to actions. People would schedule the meetings during the event, after the event, and then they were doing a warm follow-up to the people who registered and didn't schedule the event. And they also had a call to action where people go into their newsletter and subscribe. And now they're marketing to them over and over, and it continually builds and expands and grows. So many people are on LinkedIn, and I've been on LinkedIn, I don't know, 15, 16, 17,000 hours, a long time. No hyperbole. And I've made every mistake possible, probably more mistakes than anyone else. And you can't just have a one size fits all strategy because every company is a little bit different. Live events may be good for this company, but may not be good for you. So if you are interested in learning within TABS, TTABS, which one of those 5 pillars is missing, send me an email, chazhorn@chazhorn.com. That's first last name at firstlastname.com. Pretty simple. Four letters at four letters.com. Chazhorn@chazhorn.com. Not chaz.horn, _horn, space horn, just chazhorn@chazhorn.com. I think you're understand what I'm trying to say. I don't know if you're like me, but sometimes people are like the email. They go, could you put that in the chat? Maybe I should put that in the chat. I will, as a matter of fact. So you can copy and paste it. All right. Let's make sure I got it right. All right. Now it's in the chat. Send me an email with TABS, TTABS, and we'll have a conversation. I'm going to close you. Onboarding, intention to serve. If I don't think you're a good fit, then you're not a good fit. But if I can help, then we can continue talking. Or you may say, oh, with what you said, Chaz, this is helpful for me. I think I can rock this alone. It doesn't cost you anything. It only takes 20 minutes. And if at the end of the 20 minutes we want to discuss longer, then we can. No pressure. I'm here to serve you, whether I become the person that helps you get there, or if I refer you to someone else, if I don't think we're a good fit. All right. So let me tell you a really cool antidote or metaphor, give you a word picture, and just how this works. And this is a, by the way, if you haven't shared the event, share the event. You'll get the 2-pager with the 8 strategies, because I only covered a few here. And also 2 of you will get promoted to my 36,000 followers. And I'll help. We're going to have your picture there. I'm going to work with copy on for you, and I'll promote you. So share this event. I'll get a notification. If you don't share the event, I won't get a notification. So you won't get the 2-pager. So if you share the event, more people will have access to this, and you'll get the 2-pager with the 8 strategies. Plus, you'll be in the running. 2 of you will get promoted to my 36,000 plus followers, most of which are in my, they're in my target audience, but most of which are the founders, CEOs of small businesses. Okay. So if that's your target audience, take advantage of this. I also have a lot of other, when you have 36,000 followers, you don't always decide who follows you. You decide who you connect with. Okay. But if you are connected with someone, you're also following them and they're following you. Okay. So I digress. So here's a fun story so you can understand the power of tabs. And I'm going to use this example to close. And again, send me an email and put TTABS. In the chat is my email address, chazhorn@chazhorn.com, and reach out to me. If you're struggling, why struggle? Okay. I'm sure there's some exceptions here. When people meet with me, they're glad they meet with me. And I'm saying because I'm so awesome. No, I'm just a real dude who has suffered and struggled and gone through so many different things. And I really have a heart to serve you. Truly do. Whether it's just a 20-minute conversation or if we work together. Sound good? All right. So email me, chazhorn@chazhorn.com. Now, closing with this. You walk into a retail store and what usually happens? A salesperson walks up to you. This is not as common as it used to be, but a salesperson will walk up to you and say, what? Welcome to ABC. May I help you? That's a tactic of a greeting. The sales rep's attitude, now I'm using tabs. The sales rep's attitude is probably like, everyone says, it's like, no, thank you. Just looking, which is typically a lie. You're there to buy something, right? So think about this. We're going to do TTABS. And because we're incorporating all of this, and I know this is a B2C, and I'm using this because we can mostly everyone I talk to has been approached by a salesperson. And people are approaching you cold, but it's inbound traffic. Okay. So you're getting inbound traffic. People are interested in what you have to purchase. And if your tactic isn't right, your technique is off, or you don't have one, if your attitude is off, then you'll be doing a lot of behaviors and little results in strategy. So this same, we'll call this person, we won't discriminate. We have Melvin, the sales clerk, and Susie, the sales clerk. So they walk up. Welcome to ABC Company. May I help you? No, thank you. Just looking. So they're dejected. They're facing rejection over and over and over and over and over again. You understand what I'm saying? You've been there, done that? That's debilitating. Now, what they do, this company, is they thought, you know what? If we can actually get our salespeople to engage our customers, we can increase sales significantly. They're thinking like maybe 30, 35%, which would be huge if they did this for all their locations. So what did they do? They worked on strategy and attitude first. And they thought, okay, who is our target audience? What's their needs and wants? And in many communications, remember, your clients, your prospective clients are the best source of information to help you craft a strategy that speaks to them because they're the ones you're speaking to. So in talking with them, they were able to understand that they wanted to come in the store, they wanted to save money, and they wanted to get out quickly. Okay. And they found out much more about the demographics. But in the store, out of the store quickly, save money. Who can help with that? The sales clerk. But they're using a tactic that's antiquated. They don't have much of a technique in how they communicate. So this is what they did. They went through training and understanding human psychology, understanding how to get people's attention with a pattern interrupt, how to engage them in conversation. So it's not just like, oh, sorry, just looking. No, thank you. Just looking. And so they went from having a 5-second conversation with the sales rep to customer to rejection to having a 90-second conversation with the average person that walked through the door. Wow. So they changed the tactic. The tactic was still a greeting, but they used a pattern interrupt with the tactic. Welcome to ABC. Now the attitude is different. Okay. Open hand wave was a pattern interrupt. How many people wave to you when they come in the store? I can't think of anyone. Pattern interrupt. Okay. Now subconsciously like, oh, this is different. And then the salesperson would say, welcome to ABC. I'm sure you're here just looking. Smile. Just took the words out of their mouth. Would you be opposed? Now they're going for no. When you go for no, people are more likely to say yes. This is Chris Voss has a book on it, Never Split the Difference. There's also a book called Go for No, very important. So now we're working with human psychology. People would rather say no than yes because the cognitive load of, hey, how can I help you? That's a no that's going to say no, just looking. So the cognitive load on the brain, if you go negative, if you go for no, people will say no, but that no means yes. So let's go again. Welcome to ABC. I'm sure you're here just looking. Would you be opposed to me showing you how I can save you 39%? Remember with the study, they wanted to get in and out quickly and save money. Would you be opposed to me showing you how I can save you 39% so you can get in and out and be about your day? So would you respond differently to that? Yes. Yes. So no. Then all of a sudden they were engaged in conversation because of the greeting, the pattern interrupt, going for no. And they did all of this based on training their sales reps to understand human psychology, They gave them a script so they and practice it so they didn't sound scripted. They worked on their attitude and went with intention to serve, knowing that they wanted to help transform their client's life. And the way they did that was what? To get them in and out and get the things they wanted to do and save money. So, welcome to ABC. I'm sure you're here just looking. Would you be opposed to me showing you how I can save you 39% so you can get in and out quickly? People are like, no. All of a sudden they're engaging in conversation. Oh, well, let me take you over here and over here. Did you realize so sales up over 30% by changing, and it all started with the attitude and understanding their clients, their customers' needs and wants, and being able to speak in those needs and wants in such a way that you connected with them emotionally and were able to get them in the conversation, which led to an increase in sales. All right. Chick, you want to interview me? That would be amazing. Let's see. Am I pronouncing your name correctly? Yeah, we could talk about that. Please reach out. Okay. So, TTABS, your tactic, what you do, technique, how you execute on the tactic, attitude, not just about having an attitude of tenacity, but one with the intention to serve, not sell, and you will attract and not repel. Remember, sales is not about getting people to buy the thing you want to sell them. Sales is about helping people burst through obstacles and helping them achieve their goals. Isn't that what business is all about? Isn't it fulfilling to be able to transform the lives of your clients by getting them to break through those obstacles, those barriers, those challenges, and helping them achieve their goals? That's what life is all about. That's what business is all about. And that's what makes business fulfilling. If you want to chat, reach out to me and let's talk. If you want a recording of this, send me your email and I'll get you recording this. We will talk to you soon. Remember, TTABS, you've got this.